Welcome on back to the Rabbit Hole. Let's get in our social plugs real quick. Let everyone know where they can find you and also what you went last week. I am at the Vegas here at Rabbit Hole Podcast. Have you been listening? Have you been following? Thank you for everyone that's engaging on Twitter. I know Dylan is. The dude's the most annoying person I've ever met on Twitter. Like, he gets under my skin like no other. I'll get into that later. He's actually a really cool guy. But yeah, at the Vegas here, I went 0-3. Florida State is fucking me. I actually put in a future. Here's a take. I think Florida State has a chance to win the ACC. I think Florida State might run the table. I think that defense is actually better. They ended up doing things where you're like, they should, like, you think Florida State the last few years that they shouldn't have been able to do that. I think Florida State actually it might be able to run the table in the ACC. Yeah, we'll get into it. You guys let everyone know where they can find you and your picks. Well, from last week.
Yeah, Jason, go first.
Oh,
okay. I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. So at Preston Pool 405 on Twitter. Last week, not too shabby. I went 3-1. I'm 5-2 overall on the season. So just cruising on.
Jake.
At Jay Cart, or obviously at Rabbit Hole. I went 2-1. So much improved from week one. So, I hit the under Oklahoma State by 1. Iowa covered for me. And then the one game that I lost was Texas, Arkansas. And that was a game.
That was a hell of a game welcome to the SEC, basically. That's just what we're doing. Texas got throttled by a fucking bottom feeder, which actually Arkansas is not even a bottom feeder anymore. They're top 20 now. They are number 20. That was a really cool game to watch. I love seeing, I no room to talk. Ohio State lost. I got to eat crow on that. Their defense, they had no answers on defense for Oregon. They didn't make any halftime adjustments. I was able to watch like the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, bits and pieces of the third quarter, and like most of the fourth. I was driving back from Wyoming on a road trip. Kansas and Nebraska have T-Mobile sucks there, but just in general, no Wi-Fi, no internet. I'm going to eat crow on that. Ohio State, defensively, they did not look like a championship team. Just going to say it. Offensively, they got it figured out on the offense. It's just when the defense just doesn't make stops, it's so hard. I don't know why they punted on like the 30-yard line in the fourth quarter, whatever it was. It's like there's no answer. I think it was third or fourth quarter. No answers for that. Just sad day. I couldn't even talk that day. Like, I didn't want to talk anything about sports. Florida State really, this all stemmed from Jake, me saying that I wish you go 0-3. Like, ever since I said that, everything went done. I knew it too. The second I said that, I was like, well, everything's going to backfire on me. Went 0-3. Not only did I go 0-3, Florida State made me look like a fucking idiot. Ohio State dropped the ball, which is the only thing I actually care about. If you look back check the receipts, go back to last year, go back to 2 years ago when Willie Taggart was there. I don't even like Florida State. But I had the fucking hopes for them, and they let me down big time. Notre
Dame. Notre Dame barely won too.
Yeah, Notre Dame barely won. And sneak peek, I have Notre Dame's game this week in my picks. I'm not going to tell you yet what I'm taking. I'm taking Notre Dame. But
what's even crazy too is not, off of college football, but even my Broncos beat your Giants, dude, just because you said 0-3.
Dude, I ate shit on literally every front. Like,
yeah. Did the Yankees lose? I don't even know.
Yeah, I actually think they did. I think they lost to Minnesota. Like, everywhere I looked, I just couldn't catch a dub, And like on the road, Saturday night, we were so Saturday was all college football, but that was actually a good time. So now I'm not going to say anything. Friday night, we got a rain delay during the show. Anyway, nonetheless, I ate shit on every front. Preston put out a tweet being like, couldn't imagine what it'd feel like to be an NFL team with a bad quarterback. Like, that was the most subtweet thing ever. I felt like that was like first thing on my timeline when I opened up Twitter. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This weekend was trash for me. Let me know what you guys think. Like, what was, obviously I touched on Florida State. That was abysmal, and obviously Ohio State, but like, what were some games for you guys? Jake, you were at the OK State game. Sooners, we knew that was coming.
Yeah. I was there at the game this week, and it's kind of what you expected. The thing that is funny about going to an OU game is that when Texas is losing, there's all these murmurs around the crowd. Everyone's checking the scores on their phone, or they see the score scroll across the video board on the stadium, and everyone's like, "Oh, Texas is losing," and then eventually, like they pop up. And they do like the scoreboard on the thing and show replays, and everyone starts cheering for Texas losing. So that was probably one of my highlights of the weekend right there. But other than that, I mean, most of the games just kind of, it was a weird weekend for college football, but none of like the top teams went down except for Ohio State. But that was kind of a game where it was a top 15 matchup, and really, I mean, welcome to my personal hell. Also, by the way, having a good offense and an absolutely terrible defense. So welcome to that. And now that my Sooners are trying to start getting it under what?
Yeah, is there going to be like a group therapy session for fans that have teams like that where you're great offense, terrible defense? Do you guys is there a weekly meeting? Jake, I know you just have a weekly session with just terrible teams and mediocre teams. Sorry, not terrible, mediocre teams in general.
Terrible, bro. We have a better record than you. What are you talking about? Terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
and we'll see. Hey, and we'll see this weekend too, because I went to the Oklahoma State game. We played Tulsa. It kind of went down exactly as I said last week. They both are struggling significantly on offense. Both played really good defense. I took the under, hit the under, only by a point, but still counts. And
the under the over for Iowa State was 40. Over under was 46. It was, I think the final score or final total was 44. Missed that fucking shit by 2 points. I mean,
but hey, we'll see a good barometer because Ohio State plays Tulsa this upcoming week. So we'll see how that works out.
There, Jake. I don't think Ohio State's going to have another game like they did last week. I mean, against Oregon, number 12 team in the nation, that's a pretty
Oregon's better than people think.
If we throttle them, or is that like a reality check for you guys, or what do you think? And that's a serious question.
Offensively, yeah. I mean, offensively, we are very struggling right now. I mean, Spencer Sanders should have had 2 turnovers. The student section was cheering for Shane to come in. There was a lot of things going on. Our offensive line really struggled. Our running back room, I think, played as good as they could. We just forced the run. I don't know what it is when we play these teams. We just don't want to. It's like, what Sarkisian said against the Arkansas loss when he said something like, you don't want to open up the playbook and show all your plays and all. Obviously that was trash for him to say because you play in Arkansas. But it's it's just weird. We're trying to force the run because, I mean, I think we played 6 true freshmen on offense or something like that. So, we're on the struggle bus. We have to figure it out because this week is at Boise State out on the Smurf turf, and we'll find out real soon.
3.5 point dogs, I think.
Yeah, 3.5, 4 in the ballpark, wherever.
Hey, shout out to that jersey though, Preston Mean Machine. I fucking dig that. I should have called that out at the beginning of the show.
Paul Crew action, yeah,
that's dope.
Paul Crew. Bro, he wore a jersey last week, so I had to bust out the jersey this week.
Yeah, I don't have any jerseys.
I didn't get the memo,
so I clearly don't have the memo, and I couldn't. If I did have the memo, I wouldn't even be able to partake.
Well, I will let you know I have one more football jersey that's not NFL to wear for next week. So after that, I'm done with jerseys that are college football or random football jerseys.
Real quick NFL talk, because the NFL season did just start this past weekend. Let's do a little round of applause for that. That was great.
Thank God.
It's just we get football wall to wall all weekend. It sucked I wasn't able to watch too much. I did watch some on Sunday, and then obviously I watched Monday night. Did you guys catch the game last night? The Ravens-Raiders?
I caught a little bit of it. I mean, the ending of that, the Ravens should have ran. Yeah, the Ravens should have ran away with that, but they just let the Raiders hang in. And, I'm an AFC West guy. The Raiders are probably the worst team in that division. They should be the worst team in that division. I don't know what the Ravens were doing.
That one out.
Yeah. But Derek Carr is terrible.
What I really wanted to touch on, by the way, my parlay did not hit. Missed that by a little bit on all fronts. Did you guys catch the broadcast with Peyton and Eli? Did you guys catch any of that? Any highlights from that? That was
Twitter bids.
Awesome. That was seriously awesome. It is the people that are tweeting about it. They're not overhyped. Like, it was electric. Like, just the amount of information those guys have. I mean, first of all, it could just be Peyton alone and talking to guests or whatever, and it would be amazing. But to put both the Manning brothers, who, say what you guys want about Eli, he's a 2-time Super Bowl winning champion. I don't like, he's a Hall of Famer. He is very smart and very intelligent and eloquent with what he says sometimes. And to have but their chemistry, their charisma together, they're brothers, was amazing to watch. And they had Ray Lewis on, they had Russell Wilson on. It was awesome. And I actually think it's going to be something that sticks around. I don't know if it was a trial run with it, Monday Night Football or something, but they'd be stupid to not do something with that. I saw someone say that it'd be a shame if they didn't call the Ole Miss Tennessee game, or at least have some sort of live stream with it. That would be electric. It was really one of the coolest things I've seen in a while for NFL and just like really sports broadcasts in general. It was just awesome. And we don't have to touch too much on NFL. We didn't plan on talking other than because I don't have a team right now. Like, my team is down bad. Like, Daniel Jones,
it's better than me.
Points.
My parents are in Vegas right now, and they were saying, because my parents really love Vegas, so they adopt basically any Vegas team that appears. The problem is I'm a Broncos fan, so now my parents are Raiders fans and I'm a Bronco fan, and they were there yesterday, I guess, at the game, and they said it was really cool and electric and everything. So
yeah,
it was good to see them in their new stadium. Yeah, and the Steve Aoki and the Bruce Buffer.
All right, we might as well just get into it, because you know what? It couldn't have been a perfect situation for a quarterback that was in the shadows to come and flourish. Matthew Stafford being in LA is amazing. They're probably gonna win the Super Bowl, right? Like, I mean, as long as most of those guys stay healthy, all the effective. I mean, they're all effective, but like all the like very top guys like Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and of course Matthew Stafford. As long as those guys in the line stay healthy, like, they're probably going to win this. It's going to be them and the Bucks, like in the NFC Championship game, right?
Yeah, and picture this. Picture perfect. It's LA Super Bowl weekend. You have the Chargers versus the Rams in LA for the Super Bowl. It's going to be epic.
What are you talking about?
I can't wait for this to happen. Oh, we had Tampa winning the Super Bowl in Tampa last year, and just imagine both LA teams are going to be playing for the Super Bowl in LA this year.
Honestly, if that happens, there should be a massive boycott to the Super Bowl, because like that would be that LA people don't even care. Like, we as football fans, real football fans, we know the history of like the Rams aren't actually, well, they are actually LA, but they aren't. Like, LA doesn't care about those sports. They barely care about the sports that they do care about, like the Lakers. That's really about it. They don't care. They don't truly care about the Dodgers. They definitely don't care about the Kings, and the Chargers weren't. I mean, they're new, but like, that would suck. That would be the worst. I actually don't want that. And I try rooting for Justin Herbert. I don't know why. I think he's a good fit out there. But I might have to start rooting against him. I might just have to, but
man,
it's going to be the Bucks it's going to be the Bucks and the Rams in the NFC for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%,
NFC Championship for sure, right?
Yeah.
As long as each team stays pretty healthy. I mean, they're just unstoppable. Arizona might flirt with an upset if something happens, because they're just dominant. I mean, we kind of knew that. I think we talked about that on the breaking news show. Maybe we didn't, but in person, Jake and I have definitely talked about it. That team's going to be lethal. I mean, when you have DeAndre Hopkins, not Julio Jones, but AJ Green, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. I mean, when you have offensive weapons like that, as well as Kyler Murray, who's just getting better, and that line is just getting better, like, they're unstoppable on offense, and their defense is very good too. I mean, they picked up JJ Watt this offseason, so they're probably gonna be sneaky good in terms of upset alerts.
Yeah. One last NFL note before we get back to college football. West Coast NFL football. I believe NFC West and AFC West were both undefeated this last weekend.
Yeah,
so
I know for sure the NFC West
good.
Was.
And yeah,
49ers look good.
Chiefs won, Broncos won, Chargers won, and Raiders won. So that's
Chiefs won barely.
Yeah,
the Browns,
that was a very good game. Yeah.
Browns didn't have Odell Beckham Jr. He was actually a late scratch, and if he comes back healthy and like they fucking figure that situation out, they actually might. I'm not going to say it because they're the Browns. I'm just not going to say it. They're the Browns. Moving back to college football. I mean, it was kind of like I said, I didn't watch too much, so it's really just like anything you guys want to highlight. I know I had all my picks fell. I mean, all of them did. Florida State fucked me.
Yeah.
I didn't even have them as a pick, but Buffalo did not cover 13.5 against Nebraska. I really thought they would. That's a game where like you would think like at the beginning of the year we were like, this is Scott Frost is on. It could be on the hot seat. Like he's coaching for his career, and I even said like there's a potential for Nebraska to be like that Purdue type game against Ohio State, which I don't think will happen anymore. I don't think they're going to lose another game. I think they'll get it figured out. Especially it was a top 12 team that they played in Oregon.
Dude,
but
speaking of that Nebraska game, what's crazy? The guy's name is Ryan Greenhagen from what's the team they played for? Fordham versus Nebraska. Yeah, he had 31 tackles, set an NCAA record. Most tackles ever made in a game.
Really?
I saw that. Yeah, even though they got blown out, but
that was the first or the second week, right? That was their second game.
That was because they played.
That's interesting. And I don't know what the end of the final score was for the NC State Mississippi State game, but we recorded on Tuesdays, and this podcast comes out as you watch it on Wednesday. And earlier last week, I was pretty confident in that NC State pick. I really was. Each day that went by, especially when I fucking hit that tweet button on that go 0-3 Jake. Once I did that, everything went down. I knew everything was going downhill. But right before that, I could feel like you could see everything was swaying. It was like Mississippi State was going to cover that game.
Yeah, that was 24-10 in favor of Mississippi State.
Yeah, so that one just went the completely other direction. And then, like I said, that Iowa State over didn't hit, but that was a close no cover. So I'm not too worried about that one.
I feel like my Texas pick is terrible, but then if you go back and watch game day, every single person on that panel picked Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there
Brandon Walker was like one of the first ones to be like, yeah, that's an Arkansas win, clear as day. That was Arkansas. Yeah. He called that one out from a mile away. But good for Arkansas. Good for Arkansas. Yeah. Good for the SEC. It gives them like, SEC hey, our bottom feeder is taking down a team that wants to come to us. Like,
and it's just one of those things that, everyone hops on the Texas hype train before every single season, and week 2, 3, or 4 comes around and Texas loses to somebody that they shouldn't lose to. And it's just an ever going circle of Texas being overhyped every single year outside of Vince Young and Colt McCoy years. Other than that, Texas is the ultimate hype beast that never does anything.
Yeah. Is Texas the one? Maybe there might be another one but Texas might be the universal team, most universal team where like, if you're not a fan of Texas, you love seeing them go down. Like, right. Like, you might love seeing Bama or Clemson go down, or like, that's probably about it right these days. But like everyone always loves seeing Texas goes down, no matter how bad or good they actually even are. Like they might even be on a good, like if they had a good season, I guess good season for them is anything above 500. They like, you just love seeing them go down. I don't know. It's one of the most universally beloved team to hate, them and the Cowboys,
because
probably.
they're so arrogant down there that it just makes my day whenever something goes wrong for them. Speaking of like a loss or something like that, they're the most arrogant fan base that I could go on for days about this, but I agree. I think they're insane. Like they don't call a spade, and like it's like with Ohio State. Like I know, like they are not defensively. They're not there. Like we thought they'd be going into the season, but clearly after the two games, 8 quarters, like defenses in Minnesota, they kind of skated by on that. They kind of skated by, and then they just did not perform against Oregon. And I don't know if that was like a mismatch thing, because they just couldn't stop the run against Oregon. They kind of were able to stop the passing. Like, there was a couple breakout plays that quarterback had. That quarterback's out of Boston College, by the way. Super good. I mean, like they were talking about him, and I was listening to that broadcast, and they were talking about his time at BC. And I can't remember the record. That I should have wrote it down, but there was a record he had. It was a pretty impressive record. But he's no joke. And honestly, I'm pretty sure it was a quarterback switch from game 1 for them. And so Oregon, shout out to them.
we couldn't stop the run against Minnesota. We couldn't stop the run against Oregon. If we can't figure that out, we might struggle against like the likes of Wisconsin, Penn State. I mean, Penn State's got a pretty big matchup this weekend. I don't know if there's overhype on Auburn, but they're top 25. They're at number 22. So that's a pretty big matchup this weekend. Also, Bama, Florida's this weekend. That's top 15. That's an SEC showdown. That should be pretty good. Are there any other games that caught your guys' eyes going into this weekend?
I think just Nebraska OU, just because of the rivalry factor and being the 50-year anniversary of the game of the century. Other than that, I mean, we expect OU to run away with that. A little worried about Adrian Martinez maybe being able to use his feet. Not worried about him throwing the ball. Other than that, I mean, I think that game should probably go the way that it's expected to go.
Jake, what about you? Who do you guys got this weekend? Boise State.
22-point favorites. And we're playing Boise State. I think the interesting thing as of right now in all of college football is I think, honestly, Bryce Young might run away with the Heisman. I mean, as of right now, I just don't see anybody even in the realm of like showing out. And, there could be some guys that come out, but as of right now, it's like Bryce Young and then nobody really.
And this
the Heisman list is like a joke.
This weekend will really show a lot too, because they do actually, I mean, obviously they faced Miami, who was a falsely preseason ranked top 25 team. Now that we're 2 games into the season, Florida's at 15. I don't know if that's a legit 15 or what. I guess we're going to see, like, if they kind of put up a stop against Bama, if they're able to stop anything that Bama does, then they're somewhat legit of a 15 seed. We'll see. Or if they're able to do any, have any offense against that defense. Do either of you have that over under or the spread for that game? I think the spread's like 15.
Find it real quick.
I think that'll show a lot for Bryce Young if he's able to just continue to put out numbers against Florida. Like that's gonna show a lot for him. I mean, and it's just a legit. I mean, it's just not like UAB or some shit, because I think Georgia played UAB and they absolutely muscled them.
Well, Georgia's doing really well this year, but I think the thing is, dude, is Bama is very much like a Tom Brady. Like, I have faith in them until they prove me wrong, basically.
Yeah, for real. And while Preston's looking that up, I want to give a shout out to a couple guys that have been engaging with us. I think it's one of your buddies, Preston. He always wants us to talk about Pitt State. We'll talk about Pitt State when
he's the one of the strength coaches over there at Pitt State. So
respect. I mean, we'll talk about Pitt State when I can find some time to go find something about Pitt State. I just this past weekend I didn't have any time to barely watch I'm not going to be disrespectful to Pitt State. I didn't have any time to watch college football games that I needed to watch, let alone those ones. But you know what? I will find some time and I will give a quick, thought or two about Pitt State next week. And Preston will be required to give 2 thoughts by the end of the season. I want
I'll throw down one right now. Tough loss last week to the Lopers of Nebraska Kearney. This week, though,
hey, I was there in Kearney, Nebraska.
There you go. Tough loss to the Lopers up there. This week, though, you have Northeastern coming in out of Tahlequah. That should be a cakewalk because they're terrible, and gonna have a good season up there in the MIAA as the Broncos also play in the MIAA, and that right there will conclude our MIAA and Division II football talk.
Thank you, Preston.
I was going to say, the only thing I know is that the Pitt State's historically pretty good, but other than that, don't got much.
I will have a year-end recap for Pitt State that gives at least like 4 sentences. I promise you that. But you got to subscribe and retweet once a week. You guys, his name's Cole, right? Cole, you guys subscribe and retweet once a week. But the other one, Dylan, dude, Dylan gets under my skin like no one else. I don't know what it is. He's gonna listen. He's probably gonna say something on Twitter about it, and that's okay because he's a great guy. Love the dude. I mean, he's funny. He's pretty knowledgeable. Other than he doesn't ever realize when OU is bad. At least I acknowledge when Ohio State has mishaps. He doesn't acknowledge it. He just likes to brush them under the table. I'll give him the nice guy factor though. But boy, does he get under my skin. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's that thing, dude. Where,
shout out for listening, Dylan. Shout out for listening. Subscribe, like, and retweet. or share or whatever.
I mean, the only thing I could say about that is through this weekend, through Texas and their struggles, all I got to say, dude, is heed your warning of the thing of OU. You're sitting pretty right now in the Big 12. If you go to the SEC, you might be falling down. You might be running into the same trap that Texas is.
SEC built different.
It's going to be different. I mean, the thing is that now with Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, which by the way all had great performances. BYU beat Utah first time in 9 years. That's a great Big 12 team. Cincinnati, top 10 team in the country. That's a great Big 12 team.
Yep.
UCF almost won a natty in 17.
No, technically they did win a natty. Technically they did win. If you go and ask them, they did win a natty. So you're about to lose 2 non-national champions in the past 5 years and gain a national champion from the past 5 years. Think about that.
Yeah, technically they won a national title before or after either of them. They've been the closest to a natty of any of those teams. So I think they all showed out this week. I think they all played really well. It's going to be really interesting. And, I'm just saying, if you think about it, with the Big 12 coming in and you see the Big 12, how it's going to be into the future, OU might be making a mistake going to the SEC. It's going to be tough because right now you're running things. You go there and you get stomped by everybody.
Yeah,
and it'll only the future will tell. We won't know. I don't know.
I think you guys will be fine money wise, always for sure. Money wise,
yeah.
And
no matter what conference,
I do think that you guys are going to be pretty successful at first in the maybe the first season or two, but I think it'll catch up to you guys where you become like that Auburn where you're good sometimes and then you're mediocre most of the time. And then Texas, they are just going to continue to be, they're not going better for them is going 500, right? Or going, 2 games above 500.
And so it's one of those things that Oklahoma historically has always been good.
Texas, by the way.
When it comes down to it, they might struggle a little bit at first going into the SEC, but I'm fairly confident that they're going to right the wrongs. When you look at the history of OU, the only downtime they ever had was in the 90s after Barry Switzer. Other than that, they've been up there as one of the top teams in the country throughout their history. So it's one of those things I'll go out there and say they probably will struggle at some point in the SEC for a couple of years, but I don't think it's going to be, a long stint of time that they struggle and are
going
down.
To the Big Ten type struggle.
Yeah, it might be 2-3 years if that, but other than that, they'll find their way back.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree, but I also could see them having a little punch in the face, rude awakening type deal where you're like, whoa, SEC's a little tougher than we thought. We should have stayed in the Big 12.
Much easier to fall.
Jake, one more thing. We got one more topic to talk on before we go into our picks for the weekend and wrap up the show. There just became a job available out in California, and there's only one man for the job, but I'll let Jake go first to see who he thinks would be good fit for USC.
Ooh, well,
Mike Gundy.
No.
Mike Gundy needs to leave Oklahoma State, go bring USC back to its prominence because he could do that. He has the offense to run. Could you imagine his offense out there with California runner, athletes? That'd be insane. And also it's just a better job probably. So I vote Mike Gundy to USC by the end of next year, probably at the end of this year, whenever they do it. I don't know if they're going to do it in the middle of the season.
Yeah, if Mike, Oklahoma State's his dream job, there's just no way Mike's leaving. If anything about Mike, he's going to retire at Oklahoma State. So I agree, though. I think he would have success at USC. Here's the thing. If you think LA, USC, if you put your morals to the side and say, we just want to win, you go get Art Briles. Art Briles is your best He, by I think a country mile right now, is the best coach that's probably out there. But obviously, you got some baggage. I mean, the thing is that
it's nothing to USC to cheat a little bit. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's LA. They're kind of,
Preston, real quick, you said you had a short list of names.
Yeah.
I got, there's rumors. There are strong rumors.
Yeah.
I think Michael Lombardi said that there are strong rumors for Urban Meyer to leave the Jags after one game.
That is on my list, but I have a top 5 here. Number 1 is Joey Freshwater, a.k.a. Lane Kiffin. Number 2, wow. Steve Sarkisian, sober, not drunk, sober Steve Sarkisian. Nick Saban, ? Urban Meyer, healthy Urban Meyer. None of that Ohio State. Yeah, healthy Urban Meyer. And for the local people, Bob Stoops post Florida State. So once he gets fired or retires from Florida State, he'll go to USC and
you think Bob
coach
Stoops
at USC.
Going to go to Florida State?
No, that was just a thing around here locally that someone at Florida State said that they were talking to Bob Stoops, and it was.
Well, he is rumored to be in the. He is one of those names on that list.
That's one of those things. I think that probably just Bob's done coaching.
If you guys remember, I actually called Nick Saban to Texas within the next 5 years. I think last season, maybe 2 seasons ago. I can't quite remember that. I'd had to check the tapes, but I called that. And I also said USC would be a job for him too. I'm pretty sure I said that. I definitely called for him to go to Texas within the next 5 years. It looks like USC might be the Texas I was thinking of. But if you wanted to stay in the SEC, Texas could be that thing. That's still in the fucking question right now. That could be a potential thing that happens if
Sark, he's like 70 though. I think.
Yeah, but if Sark isn't doing anything in the next 2-3 years, he's out. They come into the SEC. Nick Saban already has the dynasty with Bama. Why not just be like, why not, for the benefit of the SEC, bring Texas back to prominence, which, by the way, can't happen. They're never going to be back. But why not try and think you can bring Texas back to prominence by putting Saban in Texas and just pumping that school back up for the SEC? I'm starting to think that Nick Saban is actually a shill for the SEC, and he's still at Bama because the SEC pays him under the table or off to the side to stay there. They're going to bring in Texas, let Sark run his gas out either before they get to the SEC or right as he does. Sark's out, Saban in at Texas. Texas comes all the way back up. Everyone in the SEC makes way more money. And then all of a sudden it becomes not the Southeastern Conference, the Super Elite Conference. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, USC, Oregon, they all jump ship, come over. Clemson, Notre Dame, and Florida State go, fuck Florida State. They go UL Lafayette or something, go to the SEC, and all of a sudden Texas helped build back this new conference because Saban went there. I think Nick Saban's a shill for the NCAA or for the SEC.
Let me go to my kitchen real quick and grab the tinfoil, and I'll make you a hat real quick so you can put it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Because good Lord. Oh man, that was a take. That was a lot.
There. I know that I'm gonna have to clip that one. But let's get into our picks real quick. Preston, I'll let you go first. Jake, you go next, and then I'll go final. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go first because it seems like the last 2 weeks I've went last, and last week I didn't do so good. Jake, I wish you luck this week. I want to send positive vibes. This week I am going to take number 8 Cincy. They're on the road at Indiana. They're -3.5. I just think that's actually kind of insulting to Cincy. I think Cincy's a really good team. They're not number 8 for no reason. Indy is a fraud. They're frauds. I think Cincy throttles them. I think they win that.
Big 12 represent.
I think they win. I think they win that by 2 touchdowns at least. But I got them at -3.5. Next up, I'm going the opposite way this week. Last week I took Buffalo to cover 13.5 against to cover plus 13.5 against Nebraska. Shit. This week I'm going to go against them because they didn't cover, and they didn't cover by a lot. I'm taking Coastal Carolina at -13 on the road in Buffalo. And then finally, I have to do it just because it's Purdue. I'm going to take Notre Dame -7 at home against Purdue. That seems like a game where Notre Dame can kind of get it all, figure some things out and really put on the throttle. Maybe I could be wrong. If any of my picks lose, it's going to be that one. So I would say this week, my like lock of the week or mortal lock or whatever you want to call it is going to be number 8 Cincy 3.5. I think that's way too low of a spread. Preston, you up?
Yeah, I'll go real quick since we got about 5 minutes left. Vautech +3 at West Virginia. That one was kind of confusing to me as they're a dog in that one. They're undefeated going into a West Virginia team who has one loss. Another one, we're going to see if this team is actually for real, and it might end up being OU's best non-con game of the season. Tulane +15 at Ole Miss. Tulane absolutely routed. I forget who they played last week, but I think they had like 50 points at like halftime. So we're going to see if Tulane is actually
that as well.
Is actually the real deal. And the last one I am taking the Broncos -4.5 up there on that blue field versus the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I just haven't liked what I've seen out of Oklahoma State yet this year. Not quite sure what Casey Dunn is doing with that offense up there, but who knows? Maybe they can get it done.
Jake, what do you think of that? And then go through your picks real quick. We got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I gotta change to Nebraska real quick. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, I got 2 Big 12 teams in my picks. I got Central Florida -7 against Louisville. That's going to be a tough game. That one is kind of super questionable, but we're going to take it. I'm liking this Big 12 kind of thing. And then I agree with you, Chris. I'm also taking the Cincinnati-Indiana game, but I'm going over 50 because I think Indiana's offense is really good. Cincinnati's offense is really good. I mean, that's a lower over-under than Tulsa, Oklahoma State, and I just don't see how they came up with that number. And then I'm taking college game day, obviously, Auburn, Penn State. I'm taking Auburn +6. I think Penn State is really good, but every time I bet against Auburn, somehow, some way, they end up always screwing me. There's some weird, the Gus Malzahn days were not kind to me.
Last year, Auburn screwed you a couple times last year. In similar fashion to Florida State and UNC screwing me last year. And you know what? Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'll eat shit on that one. I have money on Florida State futures, like to win the SEC or to win the ACC and the division in the ACC, and I truly did back them. I truly did have high hopes for them, and they literally and the very next week they just punched me right in the jaw. They're like, "Fuck you." But yeah, that's this week's coverage of college football. NFL started up. We got some pretty cool stuff this weekend, and that fucking Saban take. I don't know where that one came from, but that was I kind of actually feel that now. Like I truly feel it in my bones. I don't even know if it's take anymore, let alone as a prophecy. I think it's a is that what that's called? Prophecy? It doesn't matter. Either way, be sure to follow us on Twitter at The Bacus here, at PrestonPool405, at Jake Cart, and engage with us. Like, comment, subscribe. Please subscribe. It actually helps. It makes a difference. And we love, honestly, I do enjoy engaging with Dylan, even though he gets under my skin like no tomorrow. But I do enjoy engaging with him on Twitter. So be sure to comment on our Twitter feeds, on our on whatever we're talking about for whatever games. And till next week, you guys got any final thoughts?
One last thing I do. I'm channeling my inner 1970s and 80s, and I'm going to say, eat shit, Nebraska.
There we go.
There you go.
Sign it off. Till next week.